I like that. I approve of that.
Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is the Drunkduck Quackcast. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Tance and Baines together. Hello.
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 Hello, my friendly Canadian friends. So we're talking today about villains who do nothing and profit from their doing nothing. So these are villains who sort of actively do nothing, in that they know what's going to happen and they can benefit from it, or maybe they're just watching as something plays out. But it's more that, you know, something bad is going to happen, and they're restraining themselves from intervening because what is going to happen as a result of what is happening is probably going to benefit them. So yeah, that's this thing. Yeah, so it's not like, you know, the only thing required for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. That's a very nuanced, very complicated thing. This is like really bad people who, you know, they're tilting the playing field. So before we get into that, we got to do the Quackcast stuff, which is let's see, featured comic. So Quackcast is going to tell us about this great little webcomic called Oswald the Overman in the Lesser Plains of Hell. So Quai, come along and tell us about good old Aussie.
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Oswald the Overman in the Lesser Plains of Hell by Oswald the Overman, and it is rated T14. Oswald has accidentally died and landed in hell. More specifically, Oswald has landed in the Lesser Plains of Hell, a place for people who die too soon. Life on the Lesser Plains is not a cakewalk, with its inhabitants who get off the bus after only one stop and pedestrians who walk too slowly while taking up the whole sidewalk. Oswald is about to take control of fate by ripping out a page of text from a very sacred book. Oswald's dangerous deed is about to test the very fabric of existence. The art uses many experimental techniques, from pencil sketches to charcoal on texturized paper to vectorized dot shading. The majority of the pages are in black and white. Meet Lucy and Cerberus, and read Oswald the Overman in the Lesser Plains of Hell by Oswald the Overman, rated T.
That was Quackcast with Oswald the Overman in the Lesser Plains of Hell. Good old Aussie down there, grinding away. Say hello to Sisyphus and, you know, all the rest of the guys in the Lesser Plains of Hell for us, Aussie. Okay, so next up we have Gumwallis giving us a theme tune. And Gumwallis has given us a theme tune to a little comic called Tina's Story. Now, he's already given us a theme tune to Tina's Story quite a long time ago. But now he's given us another theme tune to Tina's Story because Tina is back again. So we're going to have to interview the creator or the artist or, you know, whoever's bringing it back. So that's interesting. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about Welcome Back Tina's Story. It's a groovy, rocking dance track that's full of celebration, energy and joy, which makes it a fitting theme to honour the return of Tina's Story to DD. Tina's Story has previously had a theme back in Quackcast number 211, which was a nice little classical number, quite unlike this one. So I hope you enjoy the new theme to Tina's Story called Welcome Back Tina. was Gumwallis with Welcome Back Tina's Story, which is a cool little comic. So it's adult though, so beware. Although at the moment, for some reason, it's all censored, so I don't know, maybe it is all ages. So we're going to talk about villains who profit by inactivity. Clever villains. This is a really good subtle way to create a villain, isn't it? This is like the high level villain, I would say.
Mm-hmm. It is also the villain that can very easily be considered as a part of the good guy team for the longest. Because there is no active action to pinpoint them as someone being a villain and doing things that undermine the good guy team, whatever that is. So
let's explain the concept to people, just in a very simplistic fashion.
I don't do simplistic also, you know that.
Well, I'll do that because I do simplistic. So, in a very simplistic fashion, if the baddies who do nothing, this could be like a young man who knows he's going to inherit all his grandfather's money, sitting with his grandfather eating dinner. His grandfather starts to choke and goes, "Oh, save me! Something's caught in my throat!" And like pointing to his throat, "Save me, save me!" And the grandson just stares at him and just looks and goes, "Oh," and continues to eat, while his grandfather chokes to death because he knows he's going to suddenly inherit all that money the next day. So there you are. That's a very simple version of the baddie who does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, and we have probably seen scenes like this, like eating and it is always a steak that they are eating, if you have noticed, if that is the scene.
It is.
Never a vegan meal. Or that, I mean, I would have them be eating a vegan meal.
An impossible burger.
But yeah, the general idea is not whether you actually don't feel like you can do something, you know, all the nuance that goes with whether you can or cannot intervene in certain things, blah, blah, blah. This is not the type of pattern we're talking about. It is the pattern of someone that knows that by not intervening, they will get the benefit of the disaster, whatever disaster that is, big or small, even if that benefit is just taking pleasure in seeing someone going through something nasty, whatever that is. So,
or maybe being blameless if it goes wrong.
Yeah, and they are also the types that play it safe. They will not easily show their colors, in the sense that they will not easily go and risk being found out by an active act. I don't know if that makes sense, but by passively making things swing their way, by not doing something, by not mentioning something else, by not, like, with inactivity that is also very strategic. So
yeah.
Yes,
there's a fax machine that's out of paper, and it's important for whatever reason, and they notice and they just don't mention it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or on a very small scale, you know, like not a mega villain, but just like a pathetic villain. Someone's running for the lift, and they're pretending to press the hold open button, but they never actually touch it, and they just go, too late, and the lift closes, and that person is in the lift. So that's a pathetic little tiny.
Yeah, or they can just not be doing even that. Just stand there,
just staring,
watching
at them.
Watching to see if they will make it to the sliding doors, and they don't.
Sorry,
that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I love those villains. I love that.
Yeah, they are. I think. I mean, I don't think I have ever really created a villain like that yet. But they can be like they are there for the long haul. They are usually the final boss because if they are revealed, it's probably because of many things that have accrued over time, and then eventually the good team finds out by inference that okay, this, and that points to this person.
Right. There's
Yes.
a character I'm rewatching 24 still, the series, and a couple seasons in, there's a Weasley president who is. When I read Tanz's news post this morning, I thought of him right away because that's what I'm watching right now, and he's a weak-willed guy. It's a little bit unclear: is he a villain? Is he not? You find out later what's really up, but he's definitely he's this high level. Well, he's the president. Yeah, I already said it, and he's sort of is able to keep his hands clean, and by inaction, be an obstruction. And when he does take action, it's at the worst time, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like politicians, especially, are an excellent breed for that sort of villain because inactivity is really what they are professional at. Like they really don't do things strategically, and that costs more money, and that means more money in their pockets as they siphon away funds, especially, the more corrupt the country is, the more this happens, but it happens everywhere, that sort of thing.
And
So,
you're shielded from blame, maybe by
mm,
layers of bureaucracy and all this stuff.
yeah, because if your signature isn't on anything, it's very hard to indict you.
Right. That's right.
Yes, they can be very sneaky. Entirely sneaky.
Mm-hmm. And there's something else, a manipulation that I didn't mention in the article, but it does really happen a lot, is that by the inactivity, they frustrate someone else into taking action instead of them. And that someone else then gets to get any blame or anything like that, especially if that something is very high risk or, they can afterwards get to point the finger and say, why did you do this? Like you shouldn't have done this, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm seeing that with this character. Sorry, Oz.
No, go on.
With this character I was talking about, I guess I'll end this 24 talk on this. He, there were a couple scenes in the most recent episodes I watched where this anti-terrorist team, the good guys, are saying like, well, we have to do this. Like, this is our assessment, and it's two horrible choices, and it's the lesser evil, and people will die, but it'll prevent thousands of people from dying. The president is very weaselly and saying, okay, well, I'll go along with your assessment. He's like, it's his job to make this decision, but he's really passing the buck. He's on the phone with them and said, well, okay, I'll go with your assessment. Like, I'll go with you. And then, of course, he later is able to blame them when things look rough, take credit when it goes well. It's great. He's the ultimate in a series full of these obstructive bureaucrat types as side villains. It's an interesting breed of villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I think one of the best iterations I have seen lately is in the movie Don't Look Up, where the entire thing is on whether they should or shouldn't do certain things and not doing things for profit.
Right.
So.
Well, say a very good example of this is the very early 80s British sitcom Yes Minister, that also morphed itself into a series called Yes, Prime Minister, and it was entirely based around this concept, in that there's a government minister who's just been elected, and he's constantly fighting against the bureaucracy of the civil service, which is the bureaucrats who are tasked with putting governmental decrees into action. So the government minister wants to do something. I want to, give like homes to poor people. And this bureaucrat is meant to go, okay, so how do we do this? So we've got to do this and this and this and give the money to this committee and this committee, and it funnels down. So that's their job, to put policy into action. But in the premise of Yes Minister, the real kind of remit for the civil service is not to put any policy into action. And their idea is to keep things unchanged as much as possible and to do nothing.
Yeah.
And so they're always fighting against each other. So the minister wants things to happen and wants his policies to be put into action, and the civil service wants to stop anything from happening. And so there's this constant tug of war, and it's hilarious and very funny, because sometimes the civil service guy wins, and sometimes the minister wins, and sometimes the civil service guy makes the minister think he won. And it's hilarious in this constant tug of war. And, so, yeah, this is a perfect example. Yes Minister, written by the excellent David Eddings. And I can't remember who the other guy was. But, yeah, it's brilliant. I would highly recommend it. It's a very simplistic version of what happens in politics. When you initially watch it, you might think, oh, this is very clever. This is incredibly clever, very insightful idea of what happens in politics. But it's really just incredibly simplified. But it's still entertaining nonetheless. So, yeah.
It is, I think, one of the tropes, if you want to call it a trope. I don't think it is a trope officially. But if it was, it would have been one of the closest to real life, because a lot of people that are toxic are so by through inactivity, not doing things, refusing to do things passively. Like, oh yes, I'm going to go pay the bill, and then they never do. And if they are confronted, oh, I forgot. No, that kind.
Yeah.
That's exactly like how a lot of episodes of this Yes Minister were.
Yeah.
Yes Minister, yes, we'll set up a committee on that right away. And they never do, and they keep on waiting and delaying until the minister gets voted out. And then the next people come in and they go, oh, yes. Oh, you don't want that committee. Oh, well, great. That's good, because we never did it. So that works out well.
It is also, speaking of politics, and I always get an itch with politics, so I will say this. The not doing thing is an official excuse for all governments, in the sense that, oh, the previous government did so and so and blah, blah, blah. And then the normal question is, okay, they did what they did, fine. I'm not even going to check whether you are saying something truthful or not. What did you do about it? Why didn't you change it? You succeeded the previous government, and supposedly they lost the elections and you won, because you were supposed to change the things that they did wrong. What did you do? And of course, they have done nothing. But this question is never asked. And it is just accepted that, oh, okay, we inherit things from the old government and we just do nothing and we follow what the old government did. And that is the norm, and nobody questions it. And that is very villainous, because that's how policies are crystallized as a status quo, and and people are taught that things don't change tangibly by a governmental change, which should be a thing. So yeah,
Right?
off the soapbox now, but I had to say this.
No, that's well said. Yeah, very true, and that's constant.
So it works on the big level and it works on the smaller level. I think the smaller level is something that most comics would sort of, they'd be paddling around on the lower level kind of stuff. As in, you know, the people who don't hold the lifts open. Maybe Seinfeld is a big one for this. The villains who profit by doing nothing. I think that was like many of the episodes were totally focused around that.
Right.
It's like Jerry could see that something bad was going to happen, and he would just let it happen just to see what would result.
Yeah. Then he'd say, "That's a
Elaine-
shame."
Yeah, that's a shame.
We have, now you mention it, I remember, like, we have a saying in Greece that goes, and I translate as best as I can from this, that the wolf is happy when there is strife, and that is exactly this thing, in the sense that a villain is glad when there is strife, when things are problematic and trouble is happening, because they sit back, do nothing, and they watch how this situation can benefit them. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that it makes for a great villain, though, because you can keep them invisible without having to hide any foreshadowing, because that's the whole thing. They don't really do many things. They are like that sort of tumor that doesn't develop very quickly, but it's there until it does.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a more sophisticated kind of villainy. It's more, it's very true. I mean, there are actively villainous deeds in real life, but there's some wonderful nuance to the do nothing kind of villainy.
There is.
It's compelling.
I love it when it's played up for comic effect.
It's great for comedy. Yeah. I chose not to run. That's the other thing I thought of when I read Tanz's post. Another Seinfeld.
Oh, what was that?
That was when he maybe legitimately, maybe illegitimately won a track, like a race in high school. And then when the guy wanted a rematch because he said Jerry started ahead of the start time, Jerry proclaimed, "I choose not to run," not wanting the rematch and keeping his title. This is an incredibly unfunny retelling of a Seinfeld story. But...
Yeah.
Yes, I vaguely remember it now. It's just genius, just pure genius, that show.
You know, a villain that is a villain mostly by doing nothing also tends to have a bigger impact, which is amazing, because they let a domino happen, and domino amplifies as it progresses. So, generally, a villain that doesn't stop a situation early and allows it to progress has quote unquote victims. Anyone that is affected from that situation after this situation develops. So, like, I'm trying not to use the example I used in the video cast. But take, for example, someone that knows like that the car's brakes don't work, and they don't say anything.
Yes.
The people that get in the car get in an accident and all are all killed. So those are victims by this guy, to this guy. But also the people that are also in the accident, that are random people that happened to be in the highway when the brakes didn't work, are also these villains' victims. And if you have, like, if each of these people in the cars that crashed all had like dependents, or all had different families, then it becomes exponentially a
Yeah.
bigger list of victims, because all these families are affected by the loss of these people that died in this car crash that could have been avoided had this person said something about the brakes.
Yeah.
So they can have incredibly big body counts, and I'm not just talking about death. I'm talking about severe ramifications in the lives of very, like, a lot of people. So they can be pretty nasty villains by just
Yeah.
doing nothing. So
True.
Yes, very true. So you can turn it into something big and nasty and evil, or just funny, depending
yeah,
on
I mean, it
what's
can
your
be big,
bet.
nasty, and evil, and funny. I mean, lots of comedy is just very dark. So
True. Yeah, I like it that it's so adaptable. It's
mhm.
manipulable. You don't have to be very serious with this if you don't want to.
No.
It can. There's a lot of nuance to it. I just love the idea of someone who just goes around different buildings and gets in the elevators and pretends to hold the door while people are running.
Yeah.
It's a lifter. That would be a great Batman villain. Or a Dick Tracy villain.
A great Batman villain, but for the 60s.
The TV show.
Yeah.
The elevator.
The elevator man.
Ha ha ha! Got you again, Batman. And Batman goes, darn it.
And then
And he has
And
to
then
climb up the
Batman
outside of the building.
pulls a very specific tool from his utility belt that is a hook that he shoots into the elevator, specifically designed to push down the hold button.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha! I foiled you now.
Hey, he has shark repellent. He probably has an elevator button
Exactly.
holder. So
Yes, but the bad guy triumphs because he says, I wasn't doing anything anyway, so
yeah, you cannot arrest me for not
Yeah.
holding down the elevator. Wow.
I wasn't. Like, I tried. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
It wasn't my fault.
And that's another way. These villains can easily get away with murder because they didn't actually actively do the murder, and it's very hard to prove that they willingly let the person die. And
Unless Phil Collins is on the scene.
yeah.
You hear those drums
Because if Phil
kicking?
Collins is on the scene, I saw what you did. I saw it with my own two eyes.
Yeah, but even then, they can say, "Oh, I froze in fear. I didn't know what to do. It wasn't."
Exactly.
Oh no. It's all been a pack of lies. I can feel it coming in here.
You know a lot of Phil Collins songs.
I do. He's great. Gets a bad rap. I don't know why there was that hatred about Phil Collins. I think it was like South Park.
I don't know. I mean,
Started that
I
whole
never.
Phil Collins is
I didn't
bad.
know there
Oh,
was.
was there any hatred for Phil Collins? I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the early the late 90s. Yeah.
Huh.
It was like, and I think the other thing was because all his solo albums had his great big fat face on them. So
But why not?
that was-
Didn't he sing it? That's his face.
Didn't he sing what?
I said, why not? Didn't he sing it? he's entitled to have his big fat face on the cover.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it was just really a vanity thing, and his face got fatter and fatter as he got older.
Well.
I do think that these negligent villains have an invisible touch.
Mm.
Oh dear, I can't top that. I can't think of another Phil Collins song. That is brilliant, Baines. Very clever.
It is. Baines, you win the internet.
Oh my gosh! Thank you.
You in the Quackcast. Oh dear. No, there isn't a something to top that. That's brilliant. That's one of my favorite Phil Collins songs, actually.
Yeah, it's Genesis, right? He might have been doing the lion's share.
Actually, no, that's when he's solo. One of his early solo songs.
I thought it was the Genesis album, but yeah, maybe you're right.
I don't think so. She seems to have an invisible touch. Yeah, takes right hold of your heart. Yeah,
The one. It is a Genesis album, but I mean,
you're right. Oh, bastard, Baines. It is Genesis. Well,
Baines wins the second time.
Oh my gosh. This is so exciting.
Baines is winning everything
I'm
tonight.
desperately trying to think of another Phil Collins or Genesis song to reference, but nothing's coming to mind that fits. I love them, though.
Yeah, well, then there was the days of Peter Gabriel.
Yes. I don't think I've ever heard that I know of a Peter Gabriel Genesis song. I know Peter Gabriel, obviously, solo stuff, but
yeah. It was really wanky from what I've seen, and people love it because I don't know, they like arty stuff. But we're diverting down into another pathway. This will be the Genesis,
and I am doing nothing to stop it.
Tance was the villain all along.
Oh. Yeah, and you could also have people, and going back to the evil can advance with good people doing nothing. Taking away the categories of people that don't understand what is happening, are too afraid, no, other reasons for inactivity. There are the people that are inactive because they like what is happening. And those are also villains in the sense that, we are sticking to the XYZ subgroup that we hate, that we all hate. And it's like, I really like that they are getting canned. That's a villain. They have no benefit except being happy that they are being treated in a superior way to some other group, and that's how they feel that they are better people in their miserable little lives. So those people are villains as well.
Yeah, and they take joy in the fact that they're on the good side. They're on the
winning side. They are on the winning side.
Class.
Yeah,
the winning side.
Oh.
Yes, thank God it's not me over there.
Sucks to be you. That's.
They wouldn't say that. They would just keep quiet.
That's
but
surprisingly common.
That's tough. I mean, it gets into. I mean, I don't know. I hesitate to even say this, but the news post gave me some anxiety because there is a couple of instances, one in particular I'm thinking of, where I saw an injustice and I was afraid to intervene, and I think about it a few years ago, but I still think about it, and I don't know what I could have done bigger picture, and it could have gotten me in bad trouble. But I'm embarrassed that I guess was afraid and kind of stood by and watched something happen. I mean, could I have even gotten there in time to do anything? I don't know. Would I have just gotten myself in deep shit? Probably. But yeah, it's I don't know. This topic it's tough to think about in a way.
Yeah,
I
but
was
Pains, that's just you were not doing nothing to be, to watch and get a kick out of what you were watching.
no, not at all. I mean, yeah,
Yeah. So that's different. That's
it
not
is
what we're
different.
talking about.
Yeah, it's maybe not good. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider it evil. I don't think
Mhm.
villainy. But,
And there is another thing, and I mean, thank you for mentioning this because we have to say this. Like, forget the villains and the trope for a while. But there are certain situations where you should do nothing, even though you know that this will cause the person in distress or the situation to get worse, whatever it is. Because if you act, you are only going to make the situation worse. And that's something that we are taught in the Red Cross. And I agree with it.
oh,
Like, for example, what we are taught is you never rush into help. We go there to be trained to help people, right? To go and intervene and make things better and save lives. But
yeah,
the first thing that you are taught, and that is really surprised, I mean, that surprised me. I understood why, but it surprised me that it was the first thing that they teach you is that first you have to assess whether or not you can help and will not become a second casualty or a second person in distress. Because if we have two people to rescue, then it is an exponentially harder situation, and you have made it that way.
right,
So, yeah, there are certain situations where you cannot intervene because it is not safe enough for you. And that's the proper thing to do because the only thing you're doing is increasing the body count. And that is not anything villainous. That is conservation for everyone involved. You act only when you know what you're doing, or at least you feel that you can avert the situation without making it worse.
right.
So that's very important.
That
I
makes
hope
sense. Yeah,
people have listened to this part. But yeah, don't go in willy nilly. I remember,
yeah,
for example, um, we in the Red Cross we go to cover certain events, and some events turn violent, like hooligans in matches, football matches, soccer matches actually. And if you are the leader of a team, as I have been many times, you must forbid your guys to go in when the hooliganism is taking place, especially because you are wearing red, and red represents a specific team in Greece, and you can be attacked just for wearing red.
well,
So you have to call the police, clear a road, like a path for you, and then you go in and help.
right.
There.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
Drownings, that's a big thing. Like, it's always like someone thinks, oh, I should be a hero and jump in and help and save these people from the
No, don't
raging
do that if
rivers
you
or
are
from
not
the
trained.
ocean, you know? And yeah, most
Mm-hmm.
of the time those people die. Actually, like 90% of the time, those people always
Yeah.
die. That's a good way to
Yeah,
have more
yeah.
bodies. That happens
And
all the
actually,
time
if
in
you want to
Australia.
help someone who is drowning and you are not trained, to pull a drowning person out, you have two options. The first option that you must always do is call for help. Just call for help. And the second thing is if the person drowning is relatively close to the shore, find a rope and toss them a rope and pull them out. Never go into the water yourself. That's like the first thing that you should not do. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a
Mhm.
bloody dangerous environment. Yeah.
No.
So it's not villainous. I mean, it would be villainous if you just watched and didn't do anything
Yes.
at all.
No,
That
call.
would be
Call
villainous.
someone.
Didn't get any help. Yeah, you'd be like that guy who was just didn't do anything while Phil Collins was watching with his own two eyes.
We did have, now that you mention it, we did have like a year ago or so, the very appalling case of this father who took his kid out in a boat, and then the kid fell mysteriously into the water, and he just didn't do anything. And when he was asked, okay, why didn't you go in to grab her? He said that I didn't know how to swim, and I would drown if I went in. Which, like most parents said, bollocks to that. But but then they said, okay, that's okay. But why didn't you call anyone? And he said that, oh, I forgot my phone and I didn't have anyone. And then the third thing is, okay, why didn't you row to the shore and run to get someone? And then he said, oh, I froze. I didn't know what to do. He was arrested and charged and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes the blood boil just to hear that.
Mhm.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's very sneaky.
Yeah, but that's a kind of inactivity villain that gets caught very very fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the bid. The guy eventually it turned out that he wanted to take revenge on his wife that divorced him by doing this.
Whoa.
So yeah, he actually offed his own kid to take revenge on his wife. Um,
Yeah,
mm,
probably threw him in the water and then sailed away. Well, I think this kind of villain is also works well for
mhm.
serial killers. You could really fit that in there. I don't know where it fits for realistic serial killers, but it fits in for, the fantasy kind of serial killers that you get in movies and TV shows. They will often do these kind of elaborate plans where someone just happens to fall off a building or whatever, and I mean maybe they actively did it or whatever, but they watch someone die, and that's maybe it sometimes okay, like, so to be a serial killer you have to cause a death, right? So if you're just taking advantage of a death, that's not a serial killer thing. But I think maybe it can be the
Yeah.
start of them turning into serial killer, because then they see someone falling off a cliff or whatever and they don't go to help and they just watch. This is interesting.
Yeah.
And that can be
You could
the
have like a
initiating
serial
kind
killer
of
that sets
incident.
up situations that look like accidents, like for example, uh, a faulty step in a very steep ladder, and they
Yeah.
Mm.
Bad wiring and
Yeah,
stuff, but
but
then
but
that's
that could
actively
be like
doing
the
it though. I
initiating
mean,
thing.
even though it
They
looks
just
like
don't
it's not.
say anything. They like it, and then to live through this situation again, they start
Oh, I
being a
get what you
serial
mean.
because otherwise
Yeah.
they will not ever be a serial killer because they rely on chance to this.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
just happen to be in a situation. I mean, it could be it could be a masterful plot for a lucky serial killer, in that they don't do anything. They just find themselves in situations where people are falling off cliffs and choking and getting hit by cars and stuff like that, and they just happen to be watching, you know? So it's like the detective tries to charge them, but
Yeah.
there's nothing he can do because it just literally was an accident. You just happened to be there. I don't understand this. You know, he just magically is in the situation where these deaths.
But this
are
still
occurring.
isn't
That would be
serial killing
fantastic.
because they are not the cause. They would have to go ahead and
I
But
know
yeah,
what I'm
absolutely.
saying is like it's an accidental one, so he can't be proved to be a serial killer because he's not actually. But it's like luck makes him one, from the point of view like of if there was like a like a god or something like that, the god would
He
be
could
putting
be
him
like
in these
he
situations,
could have
or maybe
he could have
his
struck a
luck makes
bargain
it
with
happen.
like a Loki type supernatural character that does it for him
Yeah,
in exchange for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
Death Note
yeah.
though is an active act of killing. The fact that they do it by notebook is just that the means is different, but they are actively writing down the name.
yeah, but it's not like
No,
realistically provable
no.
for the beginning anyway. Like he can say, "Oh, this person will have a heart attack," and that person has a heart attack. So it's just like he couldn't have made him had a heart attack in the real world, even though he did magically. So it's
But yeah,
it's weird.
that's the thing. The thing is that there is this passive toxicity that causes a lot, like the damage being caused by inactivity in this specific context is huge. And
Oh yeah.
I think it is one of the biggest and scariest things because it is so invisible. It's like a blight that just exists. Yeah.
Mm.
A blight of those damn people who are not holding the lift, the elevator when they're meant
Well,
to.
imagine if they didn't hold the elevator. They
With their
didn't hold the
pain
elevator. You
faces.
had to go up the stairs, and then you slip on these stairs and you fall down the chute. There you go.
Exactly. There, it causes, it actively causes evil to happen. But I love the fact that the people who don't hold the elevator, they pretend to have these pain faces, as if they go, oh, as if they really want to, yeah. Oh, and they have to master that pain face. Oh. That's so cool.
Conan O'Brien tells this story where he was at some kind of lodge or some kind of whatever. He was traveling, and he got into an elevator, and he was just tired. He said, and he heard someone like call for him to hold the door, and he literally did that. He slowly stretched his finger out, but didn't hit the button. He's just tired, and just as the doors close, he sees Harrison Ford coming up to the door just as they close, and very funny.
Oh.
Conan was like, "Oh no, oh my god."
Oh, I know it's not you.
Yeah.
Dick. Oh dear. I wonder if he'd remember. No, he wouldn't have remembered it, but it would be great in a future.
Well, that's where I heard about it. Yeah, he was
I
interviewing Harrison Ford, and he told him this story. Harrison, I'm sure, didn't remember that, but he pretended to. Yeah, he's like, "That was you."
All these years.
I was wondering who that bastard was.
People died because of that.
Wow. That would make for a pretty interesting thriller. Like,
actually, yes. And Conan O'Brien, that person in that position, is the hero, and they become just by one little tiny sin like that.
Yeah, and it's like they even go to apologize, and then they have basically put themselves on the map for the villain that was not able to catch that elevator. And
Actually, yes, that's an
we
excellent
have
point.
our movie.
There you go.
We do, yeah. The steps we make. It would actually be a pretty good Twilight Zone episode thing too. But in Twilight Zone, the person who doesn't hold the button automatically means that something massively evil and horrible happens to them, because Twilight Zone is full of this ridiculous level of consequences. Oh my god, you didn't hold the lift open? Then you die and your whole family dies, and everyone knows that you're an idiot, and that gets broadcast forever, that you're a coward and an idiot, and you're responsible for the nuclear bomb being developed. So
Hitler won because you didn't hold the elevator for Churchill.
No, it was me. It was all me.
You'll be doomed now as a spirit to walk the earth, and until someone holds the elevator for you.
Yeah. Oh my god! But that would be like the most sorry haunting ever. Like a spirit literally dedicated to holding elevators for people. That would be
that'll
awesome.
be it. Yes, you're doomed now to ride the elevator forever.
Yeah, and hold the door for everyone.
Oh man,
and you have to hold it for everyone.
And that's why.
Yeah, you get to be that.
The elevator in this particular hotel, no matter how much they repair it, it always gets stuck because someone is always
on the 13th floor.
Yeah.
Man.
The 13th floor, and the guy that's in it is like this, faceless. Oh, like I've never seen him before.
Yeah.
The unknown stranger.
That always saves the day by holding the elevator for you.
Yeah.
Oh, see, we're just writing.
It writes itself. See, a good trope is all you need for the story to write itself. There you go.
Yeah.
The 13th trope.
13th trope.
Well, this has been a very highly enjoyable Quackcast.
Yes.
Thank you guys for coming along for the... What should we call it? Give me a title.
Hold the door. Hold door.
Thanks, Tom.
No, that was a joke.
I didn't do nothing.
It's great. Oh, this is spilling out.
Baines, you didn't stop him from writing this title. Come on.
That's right.
These are both great titles.
I choose not to run. There's a title.
That's too obscure, that one.
I mean, we explain it in the episode.
You know what? You could have an image of Baldric from Blackadder, and the title "Do Nothing." That's from where they were sentenced to have their heads cut off, and they were waiting in the cell, and Blackadder was trying to find out a way for them to escape, and of course Baldric had a cunning plan, and he said, "Okay, tell me what the cunning plan is," with a lot more glibness than I am saying it like right now, and he said, "My plan is to do nothing." And then wait until we have our heads cut off, and then we get up like chickens and we walk away.
Put our heads back on and we're fine.
That was literally his cunning plan. But anyway, you could have that. And have the duck dressed as Blackadder in Blackadder, like the second season, I think.
Oh man.
Blackadder the second.
Yeah, I think it is the second.
Yeah, with that beautiful head of curly hair. No, it's
Blackadder, the
third.
third is, and then it's go fourth. I don't remember the second, how it is called. So
That's the one when the French Revolution, so it had to be the third.
oh, is it? Okay, even better.
French Revolution. And they get saved by the Scarlet Pimpernel, or he kills him by accident. Oh, fuck.